Here's your host, Clay Nelson.
Hey, hi, this is Clay Nelson and Susan Nelson. Pretty soon it's going to be Susan Nelson and who? And
Clay who?
Yeah, Clay who? And you're listening to KZSB AM 1290, the Clay Nelson Life Balance Hour. Now, I got to tell you, today's show is one I've been wanting to do for a long time. And it pretty much addresses in a very casual way, as you can see the way I'm sitting and what we're doing here. It's time for the world to get back to family. It's time to get back to working around the house. It's time to get back to doing things that doesn't require gasoline or automobiles, okay? You know, it's time to get back to motorcycles with sidecars. What do you think? That's a good idea. Or it's time to get back to walking, or it's time to get, like last weekend, Susan and I, we wanted to get out and do some things, but we didn't want to spend a lot of money, and we didn't want to put gas in the car. We don't do anything. So we went up and replanted the plants around the what do you call it?
At the pool? For the association?
The association pool, yeah. Mm-hmm. And we just had a blast, and we've been getting phone calls all week, wow, it looks so nice up there and everything else, and we just had absolute blast doing that. So now, this is a radio talk show. Susan and I talk a lot. A lot of times I wonder what's going to come from Susan. So far, over the last few months, I've done okay.
Well, we might want to tell the audience what the title of the show is today.
Oh, good idea. Thanks, honey.
You think so?
Okay. The topic of today's show is having fun with family and not having to drive anywhere. I mean, duh. I mean, think about that. Think about in the covered wagon days. If you had to go very far, you used to have to pack all your stuff, put it in the covered wagon, find a good horse, get a map, get that special hat for your wife. You know, one that keeps the
sun off her face, yeah.
And have some sort of a big animal walking behind your vehicle. You know what I mean? That's the way they did. And they walked for a long ways, then they sat down. I have no idea what they did there, but that's what they did. And then they had to wait for people to come and rob them and stuff.
Well, they probably didn't need as much stuff as we have today.
That's true. You know? That's true.
They didn't have to go to the electronics store or the grocery store.
And, you know, we have so much stuff, Susan. We've been really lucky. We have so much stuff. If ever we wanted to go someplace and put all our stuff in a covered wagon, wow. I think our stuff alone would be a wagon train.
No, I think we'd have about three or four. Oh, a wagon train. Yeah.
That was supposed to be funny.
Yeah, that circles around.
Yeah, we could circle our own wagons. What do you think? We wouldn't need anybody else.
That's probably true.
Haha, gotcha.
You did.
On that one, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, now, for calling in, let's get back to the regular stuff here. For calling in, you can call in local at 564-1290, 564-1290, or long distance, you can call 866-564-1290, or you can email me or Susan at Clay. Clay at mediasb.com. You know, some people said to me this week that they stream in on the show, and they said, you know, you guys are having a lot of fun on that show. Do you really get along that well? I said, well, just before the show
tell the truth?
And just after the show, we do great. Then we go back to normal.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so no, the truth is we have a lot of fun doing this show. We don't get paid to do this show. We respectfully don't. We're not here to sell product or to do anything else than to have fun on the radio and have 10 or 15,000 people listen to us and possibly emulate what we do. And I'm sure there are people out there that know me and known me for years that are glad to see that Susan actually is taking a stand that puts me in my place, which is really cool. And what I love about you, Susan, on this show, especially the last 3 or 4 months, is I never know what you're going to say. I have a script. I have things. I have orange juice. I have water. I have protein bars. I turned off my telephone. I have a producer. I have Diego to keep the film stuff going and everything else. Mm-hmm. But I never know what you're going to do.
Good.
And that's the fun part.
Good.
So that's what we're doing today. And we're talking about having fun with family and not having to drive anywhere. So think about if the gas prices are going to skyrocket all over the place, all right, and the cost of food that we put on our table is getting more and more expensive, gee, maybe we ought to take up gardening. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never grown anything that I was going to eat. I grow flowers all the time, and I have room to grow stuff, but I have never really done that. I've always just gone to the store, or I've gone, Susan, do we have any more tomatoes?
Well, speaking of garden, Mom's got a little garden in a really small space. She's got tomatoes and herbs and all sorts of stuff.
Well, didn't your mom grow up on a farm? So she knows about all that stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, every time we've lived any place, she's always planted a garden.
Yeah, and your mom was that many years old, and and she knows all about gardening and growing stuff, and she just does any place she puts a garden in.
Yep.
Huh. I wonder how many are out there. Tell me, If you have a garden at your home right now, all right, send me an email.
Raise your hand.
Yeah, raise your hand. Don't raise your hand if you're driving, though. If you have a garden out there at your home that you actually plant every year and you grow the food and you consume the food, call me at 564-1290 or 866-564-1290 or send me an email. I just want to know how many of you out there actually grow food that you consume, in this day and age. I mean, it's really phenomenal.
And it'd be a great thing for the kids to know, learn how to do.
Yeah. It's a great thing for me to know.
Well, that's true.
Like I watch these shows all the time about survival. This guy jumps out of a helicopter in the middle of nowhere, and he has to eat roots and beetles and all kinds of stuff and get from one place to another, and he's got to know where north is all the time. I never have figured out how he does that. But he's got to know where he's going and everything else. And, if that happened to me, I'd just sit there and wait for, Hitch to find me or you to find me. I just sit there and go, okay, Mr. Air, I don't taste good. Don't eat me.
Yep.
That's the way it is for me. So, but when you think about it, what would it really be like if you set up a weekend, just a weekend, 2 consecutive days where you didn't drive a car? And I don't mean you sit in front of the TV and eat red licorice, although that's not a bad idea. And I don't mean you watch football games. I don't mean that. I don't mean you go brain dead watching some mechanical tube or electronic tube someplace or just get on the computer and disappear. I don't mean that. I mean, what if you, as a family, the entire family, you didn't do anything with electronics, you didn't drive anywhere, and you didn't leave your property, but you had to have fun? Now think about that. That means you'd have to talk to each other and not tell other people what to do, not tell other people what they didn't do, not be demanding, but actually learn to be together. And not in a new way. There was a time in your life when you used to do that. When you were raising your kids and you had babies and not so many bills, and you actually knew your neighbor. I mean, can you believe that? I mean, we've lived in our house, 18 years, 19 years?
18, almost.
Yeah, 19 years. And I don't know every single neighbor's name on the street. I know them to say hi and recognize it, but I don't know their names and I don't know their background. We go to the
block parties
and stuff, and I have you on my arm going, who's this? Tell me what's that name? What do they do? You know what I mean? You know everything. So, what would it be like to have fun with your family and not have to drive anywhere? That's today's show, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So we have to go to break now, but let me read one quote from Mr. Anonymous. Remember we talked about that last show? Mr. Anonymous says, TV, if kids were entertained by 2 letters, imagine fun, F-U-N, they'd have to be entertained by 26 letters, the whole alphabet. If you want to open up your child's imagination, open up a book. What do you think? So that's something we're going to talk about when we get back, reading, Like one of the things we did with our kids as they were growing up is they had to read books and write book reports and give us the report. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And it worked well, too. We always had them read books that we didn't want to read. Worked great.
No, we didn't.
Okay, so this is Clay and Susan Nelson on the Clay Nelson Life Balance Hour on KZSB AM 1290. So get on back here. We're going to show you how to have fun without moving in your car.